I'm Corin from Greenwood Bonsai Studio. In the studio today, and I've recently done some work on this Japanese maple forest planting of mine, and this is what we're going to show you in this video. But before we do that, I'm just going to wind back a few years and show you some progression photographs of how this group planting here came about. For many years I wanted to plant a group together of Deshojo maple. For those of you that don't know, it's a type of Japanese maple that has a beautiful dark red foliage in spring and summer. And I've searched for a long time and not managed to find one that I wanted. Eventually I found 3 group plantings with 5 trees in each. They were smaller group plantings, and here's a photo of them as I first bought them. They were in quite small ceramic pots, and I took them out of the small ceramic pots and I planted them into just these large seed trays, just to get a bit more growth to the plants themselves. And they were in those seed trays for about a year. And then in early spring, about February time, end of Feb, I separated those groups of 5, so I ended up with 15 or so individual trees. And here's a sequence of me just planting them together. I'm positioning them in the pot, planting them in akadama in this instance, and trimming them back and getting the primary, secondary and the main trees positioned into this pot. And as I continue doing this process, adding more trees to get the group established and shown here. So this was after I've just done it, still wearing the same hoodie, sweatshirt that I wear today. Yeah. So when I first put the group together like this, it wasn't very twiggy, yeah, but over the next few years we both got better looking and filled out a bit. So this is it a few years later, when it's in leaf, in bright red spring colour, in a very shallow Japanese bonsai pot. This was a year later. You see the twigs are just starting to develop on it. And then I searched for a long time to find a bonsai pot to put this group into, and I wanted a slightly glazed pot. And this is a handmade pot by Sperling Ceramic, and it really suits the tree. It's a very dusty, smoky blue crackle glaze, and when the tree's in leaf it suits it. You can see in this photograph how the twigs have developed, and we've got quite intense ramification on this group. If we see it here in its spring colour in its new pot, that's probably at its most colourful, and that's the time of year when we like to show and exhibit this tree. And then from this stage here, last year we had a late frost. It damaged one of the trees. So this video presentation now is just going to show you a restoration work that I've just recently done on this group planting, so you can see it evolve. And from the first photograph I showed you of putting it together to now is about 15 years duration. If you enjoy this video, please watch and like and subscribe our other videos. I've got quite a few of them out there now, all on different subjects, so please check them out. Thank you. Hello, back in the studio again, and today I'm going to do a little bit of remedial work on this Deshojo maple forest planting. This is a group planting that I assembled from several trees about 15 years ago. I actually bought 3 smaller group plantings of Deshojo, and I split them all up into individual trees, and I grew them for a year, and then I placed them together to form this group. It's one of the trees in my own collection. I've had it for a number of years, but last year we had a very late frost in spring once they'd just come into leaf, and it has adversely affected this group, unfortunately. And this tree here on the right hand side, this apex has died off down to this point. So obviously I can't keep this in the group with this looking bad like this. So, you know, bonsai trees, it's a natural tree, it's always growing. You know, in an ideal situation, they get better every year, but it's just odds that they sometimes don't. We know why this has been affected. We've got to do something to sort of get it back on track again. So what we're going to do with this, we're going to look to remove this tree from the composition, and then this one here on this right hand side, I'm going to try and remove that one and this one, bring this little one in here to fill in the space that this one's left. which will give me a bit more space on this side of the pot. I'm also going to repot the group at the same time, because I might end up just twisting the group in the pot a little bit to get a different front to the forest planting. And I know a few people struggle with repotting groups. They're not sure how to do it, they find it difficult. You know, we've got probably 13 trees or so in this group, but if you do it the way I'm going to show you, it's not really too difficult at all. So what we'll do, first of all we'll slide it out of the pot, and we'll try and remove these 2 trees and see if we can't slide this one back in. Okay, so we're ready to get this tree out of the pot. Fairly shallow pot, and the group isn't wired into this pot. So the way to do it is to grab as many trees as you can, 2 or 3 of the main trees, and then just lift and slide it across like that. So that's out of the pot, that's quite easily done. Next thing is to comb some of the roots out around the edge. So, as we normally do here, just over the edge of the table with a root hook, combing the roots out into a bucket. And we'll get round to this section here. This is the tree we want to remove, and this is the one we want to move inwards. So we'll concentrate on combing out a little bit where they are. So this is the one we want to take out to put back in. So these trees haven't been taken apart into individual trees. They have been growing together in here since I put this group together all those years ago. So there will be a few roots intertwining. It's just a matter of working around that tree. There we go. So that's the one we're going to put back in. And this one here is the one we're going to remove entirely. So we don't have to be quite so careful with this one. So that's the one that's removed that we no longer need. Right, so a little bit more root work. And this whole section here on this side wants reducing back, so we'll use a saw to make quick work of it. Turn it round. This was last repotted about 3 years ago, so it's not ever so solid in the pot, but there's a few new roots around the edge, so just going to tickle those out. And I've already done a little bit of work on the surface of the soil. I've removed some of the soil surface, and there's a little bit of moss growing up the bottom of some of these trunks, and I've just used a little nylon brush or a fine brass brush just to tidy up the base of these trees. And in fact, because it's been together for quite some time, the base of these is really coming on quite well. We've got some nice nibari and surface roots at the bases of these main trees, which I'm quite pleased about. This section at the front, we'll take a slice out of here into this section. So once we've worked our way around the edge, we also need to take a little bit of soil out from underneath the group planting. So just carefully lean it over. This is the mesh that was covering the drainage holes up from before. And then with a root hook, So it's not in desperate need of doing. I'm really repotting this so that I can switch these trees rather than repotting it because it needs doing from a root perspective. But now it's out of the pot, we might as well just have a bit of a comb out of these roots and just tidy them up a little bit. So once that's combed out, we'll just get rid of that acadama, and then these longer roots will just be trimmed with a pair of our root scissors. Okay, so I finished combing around the root wall of this group, and now it's time to reassemble it. So I've just cleaned the pot up, put the mesh back in the bottom, and put just a small layer of acadama in the bottom of the pot. So let's pop that over here. And this was the front of the pot in this side on this particular one. And then if we get the group, again, just lift it by a couple of trunks. Bring it over onto here. And this was our tree that we were going to put back into the group. So what we're looking to do with this, the group was about here, and this tree, it's got this left hand branch. We want to make it a right hand branch like this, leaning out. We want to try and get it in here. That's about where that other one was that isn't there anymore. But we need to just remove a little bit of roots off this side, like that, and a bit underneath. And see if that will be enough to get it in there. Let's just get some more acadama. Pop a little bit underneath this tree and see if we can get it nestled back into there. And then straighten the pot up so I'm looking at the front of it, square on. And then we're going to move the group a little bit over to the left, and then make sure we've got it lined up right this way, and then that one in just there. That's a little bit more macadam underneath it, like that. And then fill in around the rest of the root wall, some down in between that bit, and in here. Spin it round to do it in at the back. Then as normal, once we've added the acadama, we need to just get a potting stick out my toolbox, and we can just go round and make sure we haven't got any air pockets in the acadama. There we go. So a little potting stick like this, just use that to work around the edge. You can see the acadama level go down as we do that. So I've just finished with my potting stick, and now the group is all in that pot, nicely done. I'm just going to lift it up against the plain background so you can have a look at it with that tree in place. So this tree on the right hand side here, before it was about here where my finger is, and the one that was here had died off. We've cut the dead one out, we've just taken this one out, slid it back in. With this branch here, it suits it quite well, and it's been quite nicely done. And now when you look at that group, you wouldn't know at all that we've just taken a tree out of it. It's now a group of 13 trees. I'll just turn it around so you can see it for 360 degrees. If you're enjoying these videos, then please watch them, like them, subscribe to our channel, and have a look at the ones we've already put on there. We've put several different subjects on now: repotting, styling, deciduous and evergreen trees. So have a browse through them, and I hope you enjoy them. Thank you.